Hello everyone and welcome to this Octopia webinar where we're going to answer the question, how to build a business plan for your marketplace. Feel free to comment in the chat and ask all your questions. We will answer them at the end. I will now let our two speakers present themselves and introduce the topic.
Hello everyone, my name is Nicolas.
Hello everyone, my name is Guillaume.
And today we'll present you our main way of working around business plan for marketplace operators. First of all, why is it important to have a concrete and relevant business plan for your marketplace project? We identify four main reasons. First is the first way to assess and validate the relevancy of the business model for you. This is really key to understand how powerful the marketplace is and how good the marketplace is for you and for your business. The second thing is that the fact that with your business plan, you can try to forecast the break-even and expect what are the revenues and the margins that you can achieve with your marketplace. The third element that really often happens in marketplace project is that at one point or another, you need to pitch your top management. And the business plan is really key in this phase, and it's what the main top management will look at and look after. And finally, it's also a way for you to value the business, which can be really interesting in case of fundraising, for instance, or any other shareholder activity. Basically, you need a business plan as for any project, but the key difference is that a marketplace business plan is quite complex and maybe more complex than other projects that you can have. Before going into the details of the business plan and how we can build it, Guillaume will just introduce you a few key terms that we use during this webinar.
Yes, exactly. Hello, everyone. So I will just give a few definitions before getting into more details around the business plan. So as you see on the screen here, we are talking about GMV, so gross merchandise value. Basically, this is all the value of the goods sold by sellers. So this is all the value that is generated in the marketplace. And this is usually the KPIs or the numbers that main actors in the market are showing in the publicity and in their marketing campaigns. So the GMV is a very important thing because it represents all the value that is generated in your business. Then you have the conversion rate. Yes, so conversion rate is you have a number of online visitors going into your business, into your website every day. And the conversion rate is the rates of these visitors that actually buy a product or a service. It means that, for instance, if you have 10 unique visitors per day and you have a conversion rate of 10%, in the end, you will have one person that buys a product or a service. Monetization. Monetization is a very interesting topic, mainly in in the marketplace business because it changes compared to other business or retail business. Monetization is related to sales made to marketplace sellers in exchange for better visibility. It means a seller has a definite marketing budget, and this budget is invested in the marketplace to increase its visibility. So this is called monetization, and it is a solid source of revenue for a marketplace.
And I think it's important to focus just a bit on this one. It's really different than what you have if you're a retailer, for instance, because with this monetization, it's really when you are a marketplace operator and you have a platform, what really changed is the fact that you have, in fact, two customers. One customer is the buyer at the end, the final customer, but you also have the merchant or the seller. That is also one of your customers that you need to attract on your platform and that have many stakes. But in the same time, it's also one source of revenues, and it's really important. And we'll see after, it's really important in terms of business plan because it can be lucrative.
Yeah, and just last thing on monetization, the more merchants you have on the marketplace, then you have, let's say, a internal competition between those merchants, and they need to invest more money to be visible compared to others. So usually the monetization revenues that you get increase over time. Then turnover, yes, because the GMV is not the final turnover for the marketplace. It would be too good. So basically, this is everything that, as a marketplace, you invoice to sellers. Here on the screen, we see commissions, monetization that we talked about, subscriptions, logistics, and also to end customers. For instance, if you buy something on Amazon, for instance, or Cdiscount, you are a final customer. You can pay a subscription so that Amazon Prime or Cdiscount à volonté, and you have benefits compared to other clients. So this is also a source of revenue, or insurances, for instance.
And the turnover is really the revenues that you have, and it's your billing. It's what you have at the end of the day, while the GMV is really useful, and it's how you can apprehend your business and so on, but it's not what you're billing. And in terms of accountability and so on, for instance, all your tax and so on will be on turnover, not on the GMV or on margin and so on. But the GMV is just a way for you as an operator and as an e-commerce operator or marketplace operator to measure all the goods that you sell, but the turnover is really only the commission and the other revenues that you can have. So monetization, subscription, and so on. All the services, basically.
And finally, churn, which may be new to some of you, and some of you maybe already know about that. This is the rate of sellers that decide to leave permanently from your marketplace, or that are being suspended by the marketplace. There might be different examples. If a particular seller is not enjoying his time in your marketplace and thinks that he wants to leave, then he will become a churn seller. And on the other side, if you decide that this particular seller does not have the quality that you want, then you can decide to tell him, all right, we do not agree on the terms and on the quality that you provide to our business, and then we decide you to not being able to sell on the marketplace anymore.
So it's really the attrition of your sellers and the sellers that you lose at the time, whether it's from you ask them to leave, or
Yes.
you ban them, or whether they are going to another marketplace or quit business.
Yeah, and this churn rate can be really substantial at the beginning. Usually, we can give you some numbers, but basically, when a marketplace is being launched, the churn rate can be around, let's say, maybe 50%, which is huge. It means 50% of the merchants that you onboard at the beginning of the year, at the end, will not be selling anymore, either by their decision or yours. But this is a huge number that has to be taken into account.
Which means that you need to source at least the same sellers, and if you want growth and if you want to have more revenue and more GMV, you need to increase the number. So to grow your base of merchants, it's really hard, because you need to first fill the gap made by the churn plus the new sellers that you want. So it's really one of the key metrics, the churn, that is often forgotten because it's not really famous, but the churn of the sellers is really important, just as the churn of customers. But in case of sellers, it's really really important and new when you're going into a marketplace. After those metrics, a few other indicators, and the main metrics that will be used today. Guillaume, if you want.
Yeah, basically, we just wanted to show you here 9 different KPIs. These KPIs can already be in your current business plan as a retailer, because you have an average basket, you have a purchase frequency, and some others are different and maybe new, such as merchants, churn, or commission rates. So basically, these are important KPIs that are really relevant when you create your own business plan for your marketplace project. And we'll show you some insights about that, some benchmarks that we are seeing here in our clients and in our past experiences. So basically, these KPIs are very important. Yeah.
They have really significant importance at the end of the business plan and on the margin. For instance, we already talked a lot about the churn, but of course, the commission rate or the conversion rate are really, as well, really fundamental in your business plan. That being said, just to start on the business plan, first, we need to define how we get into the business plan and what is the entry point of the business plan. What we think is the best is to start from the gross merchandise value, the GMV. But to define this GMV, you have mainly 4 main components. that you need to define at the beginning. And as of today, we'll start with a few, but you can start from various entry points. So basically, the GMV is nothing less than the number of items per basket multiplied by the price of each item, so that you have the average basket value multiplied by the name of orders that you have. So basically, it's the number of visitors, the traffic that you have on your website, whether it's from acquisition or brand awareness or any way to have visitors on your website, it's all your traffic, and the conversion rate. How much of each visitors are actually buying at the end. So with the two last one, you have the number of baskets and the number of orders that you can expect on your marketplace. So you have the number of orders you want to have on your marketplace. You have the value of each basket. If you multiply the two, you achieve to have the GMV. And as of today, what when going through in the examples that we have today, we'll start with the traffic and the conversion, which are quite significant and are maybe newer in terms of marketplace, and it's really where the marketplace can have a significant impact. You can also have on the average basket, because if you open a marketplace to change your product categories and so on, you can have impact on the average basket, whether it's a number of items or the value of the items. But as of today, and especially with the examples that we have, is really that we wanted to grow the number of visitors and the number of traffic. So maybe Guillaume, you can introduce the examples that we have with one of our previous customer.
Yeah, sure. Explaining a business plan as we are doing today isn't the funniest topic ever. So we wanted to make it as easy to understand as possible, and to do so, we can show you here a previous client that we have and that is currently our client. We cannot share the actual name because this is still private, but we call here a Magic Bébé. And the purpose of this example is to show you and to build with you within this next, maybe let's say 30 minutes, the build together the business plan that we had. So basically, to put some hypothesis, Magic Bébé is a childcare retailer in the Western Europe market, has around 50 stores currently, basically in France and other countries in Europe. They have a turnover of 300 million euros, and they have a substantial growth of 1.2% compared to last year. They are only selling on e-commerce right now. They sell also on e-commerce, and they have 15,000 products available in e-commerce and more in stores. They have some, competition in their market, which makes them they wanted to have a marketplace indeed, because they had a lot of competition. For the most technical part, let's say they have a Magento 2 front and currently no marketplace. So they would be building a marketplace from scratch, or going from their e-commerce and transforming it to a marketplace model. So they had three main objectives when they came to us. The first one was to enhance clients' convenience. So we explained in the previous webinars what we mean by convenience. This is the tendency that we are seeing over the past few years in the market, when basically people around the world and clients and customers, they are looking for convenience. They are looking for ways to buy products and services in the easiest way possible, either for leisure when you're looking at Netflix, or for food in Uber Eats or anything else. So they wanted to enhance this client convenience. That was the first main objective. The second was related to enlarging the product offer. We all basically know, and this is the main advantages of a marketplace, that you can enlarge your product offer very fast, because you don't need to develop either R&D projects and develop your own products, or you don't need to negotiate with producers of these products and then to have them on your warehouses. This is one of the main advantages of the marketplace, and they wanted to benefit from it. And finally, it was the third and final objective was outsourcing costs and complexity. Outsourcing costs mainly because they don't own the stock themselves. So it was only, let's say, a benefit from them. If a seller sells this product, they take a commission, and they don't need to manage this, this logistics and complexity. And so that was basically the three main objectives of this of our clients that we helped them on.
Okay.
So this is the case that we are looking today. Basically, the numbers that we are going to show are not, real numbers, of course, because when this client will be live, we're not sharing the same. So basically, we try to keep it simple. Yeah.
Yes, just for the numbers, at the beginning, every number, the customer itself is not the real figures, it's just a way to make the calculation and so that you understand. But the benchmark and the figures or inputs that we can give are what we see from today. But for obvious reason, we don't share the actual GMV, actual basket, and so on from Magic BB, but the different benchmark are real one. Just before getting into last slide, before getting into the details, how we want to proceed. Basically, there is 4 main steps today on how to build the business plan. First, we need to define and be clear on the hypothesis of the business plan. What are the ambition, especially, of the business plan? And then we'll the revenues with the various revenue streams from the marketplace. We talked already about the commission. We talked also about the subscription, the monetization, and so on. And we see what are the different revenues that happens. And once we're done with this part, which is a positive part for you, we go after in the costs, which are all the major lines of cost that you need to face and to bear when you're a marketplace. So there's a lot of costs that are outsourced to your merchants, for instance, but you still have some costs, of course, to bear at the end of the day. And so that with the ambition, the revenues, and the cost, we'll be able to make a feedback on the bottom line and what it is at the end of the day in terms of EBITDA, margin, and so on. So first, about the hypothesis. Just to be clear on what was done with Magic BB, they had hypothesis and projection in terms of traffic and conversion rate. This is what they knew and what was the starting point for them, and they knew what they could expect, or at least what they wanted to achieve in terms of traffic and in conversion. As we see, it's quite positive figures. Guillaume, maybe if you can.
Yeah. Basically, as we just said, some slides before, they had already an e-commerce website, so they had a current traffic number, and they had some projections that they presented to their board, and they had some ambition as well. So this is what we agreed upon, this ramp up of traffic. Mainly, the increase is mainly due to the marketplace project. When you increase the number of products and basically the number of pages that are indexed at Google, at the end, you benefit as well from an increase in traffic. So this is what we wanted to show here. So the traffic was increasing, and they also had a goal of increasing their conversion rates. They were at 1.4% at the first year, and in their markets, it wasn't a great, let's say, conversion rate. So they had an ambition in increasing that to reach market levels of 2.5%. So basically, these were the 2 main hypotheses that we agreed upon for the marketplace business plan. And what you can see on the right part of this slide is the category ramp up that we decided. Currently, they were selling mainly childcare, and they wanted at the go live to have an increase in number of products for childcare, but also for hygiene and beauty. Because these were some strategic categories that their main competitors were not present in. And in year 3, probably they wanted to open to baby furniture, everything related to baby, but not in the childcare category. So that was the category ramp up that we agreed upon to set the different hypotheses.
And it's how they fuel the growth in terms of traffic and conversion. It's because they expand as well in a number of product categories and so on. So this was really the hypothesis at the beginning, the ambition of the project. I would say that it's not that different, in fact, that whether it's a marketplace or not. But here it's where it's a bit different when we are trying to estimate really the revenue. So the second step is the revenue. And the first element to estimate revenue, as we mentioned earlier, is to estimate the GMV. And this is what we've done.
Exactly, yes. So this is exactly what you showed a few minutes ago, this, let's say, formula that explains how GMV is calculated. So on the bottom left of this slide, you see the traffic and conversion that we just showed you before, the hypothesis that we agreed upon. So 12 million in traffic and 2% in conversion. When you multiply those together, you have the number of baskets that are 240,000 baskets. And on the upper left part of this slide, you have the number of items per basket, which was around 1.3, and an average price per item around 42 euros, which gives us an average basket of 56 euro. And when you multiply those two, at the end, you have the estimated GMV of 13.4 million euros. So this here is not for the first year, but this is the third year. We basically, when you launch a marketplace, the first 2 years are not really relevant in terms of number, because you have a lot of investments at the beginning. It's kind of tricky and hard to reach the ambitions that you had at the first 2 years. So and in year number 5, you should be more mature, and you may have reached your objectives. So we wanted to show a year 3 because we thought it was more relevant. So this is the number for year 3, and at the end you will see all the the EBITDA and everything related to all the years.
Okay, it's really clear. So here, what we have done is just at the beginning of the business plan, first you set your hypothesis, then you calculate your GMV, so that's the first input for your revenues. But this GMV, to be clear, it's not your revenues. It's the sum of all the goods that you have sold on your marketplace.
Yes.
But it's not what goes to you at the end of the day. It's just the sum of all the baskets sold on your website. And this is what is really different from a marketplace to a retail business, because we start with the revenues now. Once we have the GMV, we can look at the revenues. And the revenues are with various sources. The first one is from the commission.
Yeah.
So basically, the commission is the amount of each sales that you're taking from your sales, which are most of the time different from one product category to another one. And as an example, commissions are between 5 to 8%, up to 20%. And it's really dependent on your product categories. And it's you can really see that there is a benchmark from your competitors, for instance, and so on. And it's more or less the same margin rate that you have on your product categories if you're doing in retail.
Yeah, and if, to add something on the commissions, this is what you as a marketplace operator decide to have on the commissions. When a seller decides to sell in your marketplace, there is a contract between the seller and the marketplace, saying, all right, this is all the conditions that you have to agree if you want to sell, and commission rates are one of these conditions. And you can, for instance, decide to have low commission rates at the launch of your project to attract more sellers. And once they are onboarded, and once marketplace become more mature, let's say 2 to 3 years, then you can increase those commission rates. Basically, the sellers that don't agree, they will leave, but it will let you all the best sellers that are actually making some business.
And it's really important, the commission rate, for 2 reasons. First, it's because of the importance that it has on the business plan. We will see that there is various sources of revenues, but the biggest one is, of course, the commission. And so that for the first reason. And the second reason is that you need to find a good balance between the fact that you have really high commission rate, which is positive if you're when making your business plan, and really optimistic, but on the same time you need to seduce and attract merchants. And one of the few elements that they are looking after, but it's not the only one, is the commission rate.
Yeah.
So it's really a balance that you need to find. And what we can see is that even if you have, for instance, lower commission rate, it's not the end of the day because you have revenues from other sources such as the monetization.
Yeah, as we just talked about in the definition slide, monetization, when you have more and more merchants in your marketplace, then they begin to compete internally because it has a probability that these sellers are selling the same products, and then either they compete on the price, but then they also want to be more visible to the final customer. When, for instance, you go on the marketplace and you type, I want to see a computer, and then you have a lot of merchants selling the same computer, then they want to be seeing at the top of the list, and you have either banners on the side and everything that is related to visibility, and this comes into the monetization revenue.
Yes, just to be clear on what is monetization, Guillaume talked about one example, which are the sponsored or featured products that you can see when you're typing on the search engine, for instance. The first result is, of course, accurate, but maybe products that are pushed by the fact that the sellers have paid to have more visibility. The second thing is that sellers can pay to have their product displayed on your website, whether when you're searching in the search engine or on the side of the article, on the side of the listing. When you're reading a product page, a description of the product page, you can have product at the bottom of the page most of the time that's saying, okay, this can also interest you and so on. It's all spaces that the merchants can buy, and it's really something that you can do as a marketplace operator to monetize, in fact, your audience and your platform. What you monetize behind this is that for merchants, you have the leads in terms of customers and in terms of buyers. So you sell them the visibility to this pool of leads and pool of customer. So it's really something that is highly dependent on the platform, the monetization, and just to have an idea what can drive the monetization up and how you can have more monetization. What we see is that there's two dimensions. First is that the fact that there is a size. The bigger a marketplace is and the bigger the audience is, the more you can make your merchant pay. Once you have millions of visitors every day or every month, it's worth, of course, more than when you are a really small marketplace with just a few visitors a day or a few visitors a month. And the second thing is that even if you're a smaller marketplace, you can still monetize in some way your audience and your platform, especially when you're specialized on a few product categories. Yeah. If you have a really legitimacy in terms of customers, if you're the specialist, the well-known specialist of one type of product, then merchants that are selling this type of product are okay and happy to pay on monetization. And it's really something that is new in marketplace compared to the retail business model. It's something that is profitable for you, but it's also profitable for the merchants. Of course, the thing is not to force your merchant to have monetization and so on. It's just tools that you offer them to boost their business and boost their business on one particular items because they want to sell these items. And maybe it's also for them just if they need to destock on one product because they have too many of this product or any reasons that they have, they may be really happy to pay for this monetization and to have boost on those product and on those sales. So it's really a win-win and a new tool and a really win-win between the marketplace operator and the seller. It's not a way that you just make money out of the seller. It's really profitable for both, actually.
Then we have other sources of revenues. So coupon, we put it in red because this is not considered as a revenue. This is something that you subtract from your GMV. Basically, this is the coupon that you give to the final customer so that the final price of the product is lessened. So for instance, you can decide to invest 1% of your GMV in coupons, and these coupons will be sent to final customers either by email or other sources of communication. And then we really see that it enhances the final customer to buy. It has a really enhancing way of the final customer that has a coupon that decreases the final price of the product plus logistics, then at the end, it makes the final customer buy more. So this is a very important thing. And we put it in red because this is subtracted from the GMV.
It's not a cost,
yeah,
but it's subtracted from the GMV. So you need to take into account when you're trying to estimate the revenues and the GMV.
So you subtract it before to calculate your gross margin. And this is the money that you get that you immediately reinvest for the final customer. So coupons. And finally, subscription. So yeah, basically, maybe if you want to explain.
No, I think it's really clear. It's the subscription of the sellers. And here we focus on the subscription of the sellers because more or less every marketplace have a subscription for sellers. We could also have talked about the subscription for end customers, but in the fact we see that it's still rare and it's only a really big marketplace that offer a subscription. So we just focus on the subscription seller side, but you also have a buyer side, I would say, subscription. And what we see is that every marketplace has subscription for its own sellers. And that's just a way that you make the sellers pay to be listed on your platform and sell products. And besides the fact that it generates revenues, is that it's also a good way to engage your merchants. And you have merchants that are wanting to come to your marketplace, they are wanting to pay on the marketplace. So you can expect from them that they are good, they are interested, and they will list products, they will maintain their catalog and so on. The problem, if you don't have a subscription at the beginning, is that, of course, you're more attractive for the merchants, so you may attract more merchants directly, even with a high commission rate, for instance. But at the same time, it's maybe not the merchants that you want to have because merchants won't be really engaged. And then it means that product catalogs that are not developed, not well updated with all the elements needed. And you may have as well also cancellation, out of stock items, and so on. So it's really a way to filter at a small cost the number of sellers, so that you have engaged sellers. It's important to have a lot of sellers, but you also need to have engaged sellers because rogue sellers won't be really useful for you. So this is the revenues. So basically, in the case of Magic Bebe, from this GMV, between the commission, the monetization, the subscription, and minus the coupon, we achieved to have 2.1 million turnover. We see that it's really different, the GMV and the turnover. So the GMV is the sum of all the baskets, is 13 million euros, and what it's for you is 2 million euros. The rest going to the sellers. But it's not neither your net turnover, and there is two costs or two lines that should not be forgotten.
Yeah, basically, the turnover here, 2.1 million, is not exactly what you get because there are two additional steps. Here you see cancellation and product returns. Cancellation means that the final customer decides to cancel his order before it has been shipped. So basically you buy something and then suddenly decide, I don't want it anymore. If it's not being shipped, then you can still cancel it. And normally is paid, and then this is a turnover that you don't get. And then the product returns means that the final customer actually receives the product and says, all right, I don't want it, or it doesn't fit, and then ships it back. And then this is something that subtracts from your turnover. Basically, these items like cancellation and product returns, they are variable to categories of products and countries. For instance, in Germany, the product return rates is really high because they have a culture of, for instance, if I want to buy a dress, I buy 5 dresses, all of different sizes, and then I'm trying them all, and the one that fits most, I'll take it, and I will send back 4. So it increases a lot the product returns rate. Yeah.
And it's the case in terms of geographies, and of course in terms of product categories. For instance, on some product categories, just fashion that you mentioned, you can expect higher product return and even higher cancellation. So it really depends on your market and your product categories. So we won't go into deep details on it today, but when you're doing your own business plan, it's not you should not forget those two elements. So this is everything for the revenue. So at the end, we see that we have 2 million of net turnovers. And before having it as a margin, we need to subtract the different costs that happens. The first cost is the PSP, so the payment service provider.
Yeah. Basically, the payment service provider is a company or a service provider that you have to pay because when a customer pays for a product or a service online, the money doesn't go directly to you; it goes through a PSP, and then you have to pay this PSP for its service. We won't go into details. There are many different PSP in the market. And this is a cost that you have, basically, yeah.
And in terms of level, what you can expect is to have at least 1%. It's a big percent, 1%, 1.5%. That you can expect.
Yeah. Basically, the PSP, you have a fixed cost per orders that you have to pay, and a variable one that is usually a percentage of the GMV. Yeah, basically. And this rate changes around among the service providers.
Yeah.
Then you have after sales.
After sales, which is the cost that you have when you're doing the after sales, which should not be forgotten is that most of the after sales is the responsibility of the sellers. So if you're doing retail, you know, and you are used to do it for your own product. When you are marketplace, it's the responsibility of your seller. So you need to make sure that the seller is feeling his duty and in contact with the customer when customer are not happy, and you may need to intervene and moderate and so on. But legally, I would say it's the responsibility of the seller. But still, it's some cost. It can be some cost for you. Then the third cost that you have, and which is really important, especially when you're starting from scratch. If you're starting a marketplace out of e-commerce, you can expect to have similar level of marketing, or maybe a bit higher at the beginning, to promote the fact that now you are a marketplace and it's different, and it's a shift from what you've done today. But when you're making a marketplace, but it's the same whether it's a marketplace or retail, from scratch, you can expect to have significant cost in marketing, which can be divided in both the brand awareness and all the activities that you can make to make people come on your website, and the digital marketing and the performance marketing with the SEA, for instance, that you can do. And this is a significant impact that you can have. What we see is that for a mature marketplace, I think it's around 3%, something like 3%. Again, it's depending on both the market, the geography, whether it's competitive or not, and the product categories. There's product categories where we know that there is low loyalty from customers, so you need to pay more to make them come again and to make them buy, while there is also product categories where you have really brands that are easy, top of mind, and they can expect to spend less of marketing. So just to have figures, a mature e-commerce or marketplace can expect around 3% of marketing.
Out of GMV?
3% of the GMV, yes, in marketing. But when you're smaller, it's much more than this, and it's not at all fictitious or weird to have around 20% of GMV at the really beginning to make your marketing. So of course you're not profitable. It's not what you're seeking for the first years. You're trying to build your audience and so on. So you need to invest massively in marketing during the first years. But at the end, you can expect to have around 3%. Then you have the payroll and the cost of all the employees that are needed to have your marketplace. And we're not going into the detail here of the different position and different jobs that you need to have when you're doing a marketplace, but it's quite significant. And of course, it's not the same as of the retail.
Yeah, we'll make a quick focus on payroll in the next slides related to new job positions that you may not have in your organization if you don't operate a marketplace currently, basically managing sellers. Yeah, we'll make a quick focus on that in the next slides.
And to finish, the IT cost. from the various modules that you have in your IT to be able to have your marketplace. For instance, it's the marketplace operator cost, the front, the cost of your front, the cost of you may have some back office in terms of warehouses and so on. It's all the OPEX of IT that you can have. In the case of Magic Bébé, from the 2 million of net turnovers and the 13, if I remember right, 13 million of GMV.
Yes, exactly.
We're going to 2 million of net turnovers and a bit less than 100K of EBITDA.
Yeah.
This is what you have at the end of the day. Just the quick focus on the cost and of the number of the payroll. And what we just focus here is on the payroll that is different from what you see today, and the new jobs and the new duties that you need to have when you're a marketplace. Basically, I will let Guillaume get into the details, but basically there is two things. It's the number of you need to have merchants. So first you need to recruit them, to source them, and then you need to manage them. And it's the two costs, the two new jobs. To stay simple, the two new jobs that you need to have when you're doing a marketplace. And we have some ratios to help you to identify how many of sourcing do you need and how many of account managing that you need.
Yes, basically. So the number of sellers here that you are seeing, 224 number of sellers, was related to the GMV, the ambition of GMV, the number of sellers that us, Octopia, could provide to this to our client Magic Bébé. And then you have two different ratios that you are seeing here in the screen. So the first thing is account sourced, as you just mentioned. The sourcing team is the first team that is different in your marketplace model. The sourcing team basically identifies the merchants. So they want to know what types of merchants I need. They identify it, then they need to contact them, and they need to negotiate with them so that they can sell on this marketplace. And once they have decided that, all right, I want to sell, then they have all of these onboarding things to do the KYC, for instance, and all of these things. So the sourcing is a long period, and you need trained teams to be able to perform this mission. Here we have a quick, let's say, benchmark that we are seeing in this industry at that time was one FTE, so one person could source between 18 to 30 merchants per year. And then the second team was account management. So basically, once a seller or a merchant is actually selling and has decided to sell and that now has his product on the marketplace, then you have to get a team, an account management team, to help this merchant actually sell. And so basically, they are probably setting some monetization things. They are trying to explain to this merchant how to increase its sales, because you may have understood it right now. The more sales the merchants do, the more commissions they can take on these sales. So you are incentivized to help those merchants to actually sell on your marketplace. And we have a team of account management that are doing this on a daily basis. And then you have, in this account management team, a little team called key account management that are actually focusing on only best sellers. Usually on a marketplace, you have 20% of your sellers that actually sell for 80% of your overall GMV. And you have to focus on these merchants because they are the basis of your business. And we have a team of key account management managers that are with these merchants every day and helping them grow their business and helping them finding solutions to their problems. So here the benchmark that we had was one person could account manage between 22 and 35 sellers per year.
Okay, so it's really interesting, which means that in this case, and it's highly dependent on the churn and so on, but in this example, for 224 sellers, you need a team of 15%, 17%.
Yes.
So it's really significant. Cannot focus too much on it. We need to move forward, but it's really something that is really important in your case, and some costs that are really can be really important. And what we can do at Octopia for you is to ease this process with a pay performance model. It's sourcing as a service, I would say, or even account management as a service, we can we take a fee on the sellers we source and we account manage for you. But it's just a way for you to simplify it and then to move forward from the time from doing it yourself.
And this is what we do every day. We have a team of 150 people that are doing this every day, account managing and sourcing merchants along the way. So yeah.
That being said, what is less interesting at the end of the day, what we see is that with those hypotheses and all those elements that were showcased today, which were, to be honest, realistic and not that conservative, not too ambitious neither. It's really realistic, and it's really what a mirror of what the customer took at the end. Is what we see is that the GMV, even with a strong growth of the GMV, you have a really strong growth of EBITDA as well. Even if you invest a lot in marketing and so on, you still have significant EBITDA at the end. And this is what we see with Octopia services, and including the fact that we just mentioned, we can do the sourcing for you, the account management, and so on. But what is really important, I think, to keep in mind in this assumption is the fact that the hypothesis that we have here is that on year one, we have 142 sellers, which is already a lot, and 360 sellers, which are already a lot. If you're starting from scratch on your own, it will take you months and years to achieve to those number of sellers. We just saw earlier than more or less one sourcing can achieve to source 20, between 18 and 25 people, 18 to 25 sellers per people. So to achieve to 142 sellers, if you take into account that you have churn and so on, you can imagine that you need a lot of sourcing behind. So it's what we can provide you with. This is the beauty of Octopia, is that we can provide you the merchants directly. In addition to the technology and the platform, we provide you the merchants. But it is really something that is important to have in mind. It's with this assumption.
Yeah, and something else to add is mostly the second most important thing is that we break even in year 3.
Yes.
Basically, in the marketplace business, there is a lot of competition in the markets that we all know about. And here you can see a break even in year 3, which means that this is a really high ambition, really ambitious but doable, and we are pretty confident that we will be able to achieve this the thing. And then if we compare it to a version of without Octopia, usually when we do business plan, we intensively advise you to make different business plans without different actors, and a high and doable business plan, and another one, best case, worst case scenario. Here, this was the without Octopia. If you put it in perspective, you see that the GMV evolution has a lower increase, because it's, as we just said, it's really hard to begin with a lot of merchants, because merchants are interested in GMV, interested in traffic, and once you just start in the market, you don't have that GMV, you don't have that traffic, then it means that it's really hard to have a lot of merchants and to get this business that you want to create. So here was a low GMV evolution, and they were potentially break even only in year 4, and you see here too that the EBITDA evolution is really lower.
Basically, the marketplace, just to sum up and to conclude with this, is that the marketplace is a business of scaling. You have a lot of most of the cost of fixed cost, and it's only the volume and the scale that help you to break even and to make profit out of your marketplace. And the second thing is that normally it takes time and years to achieve to a high number of sellers and high numbers of sellers, and then high number of GMV. It's quite the same. And with Octopia, what we are really convinced is that we can really help you to save some time, to have a running start from year 1 with already a lot of merchants onboarded, and then the traction happens naturally because you already have the boost at the beginning and really the scale effect from the beginning.
Yeah, basically it's we hope that this quick business case was easy to understand, and if you have any question, I guess that now you can ask them and we'll try our best to answer.
Yeah, feel free to ask your question in the chat, and we are really happy to answer.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for this presentation. We got indeed a few questions. The first one is how Octopia can support us in the definition of the business plan.
Okay, this is a good question. It's logic that when you're doing your marketplace business plan, it's quite a complex exercise. You have various elements. We try to simplify it and to explain it as much as possible today. But the answer of the question is that we are here to help. If you have a concrete marketplace project and you need to have some help on the business plan, we'll be really happy to help you on this. It's something that we do for our customers and even the prospects, because when doing the business plan, the aim is to see if it's worth it for you and for us. So it's really something that we do, I would say every day, but more or less every day on the business plan to try to see and assess the potential for you.
Next one is, what are the main specificities and differences compared to a classic retailer business plan?
Yeah, basically, as we just mentioned, you have in a retail business, your revenues are the sale that you are making minus the cost of the products that you are selling. So the break-even points are really low because you have to sell a lot of products and usually you have to negotiate the costs. And this is a completely different business. On the other side, in the marketplace business, you don't own the products, you don't manage the logistics for your sellers, and you're only taking a commission fee out of the sales, which means that you don't have the costs, you don't have the complexity, and you just need to provide a seamless marketplace technology and front for the final customer. So basically, to me, the main differences are on the retail business, you own the products, you have the products in your warehouses and you have to ship them, you have to communicate on these products, and you are the one that actually have the products. And on the other side, the marketplace, you don't own anything and you're just here to make a connection between sellers and customers.
Yes, it's really clear, and really in terms of, because just on the difference in terms of business plan, there's various differences. The first one is that it's more complex because it's a new business model, so it's moving and more complex business model to set up. And I think what is really different is on the revenue side. Both on revenue side and cost side, you have difference, but on the revenue side, there is the main difference with the fact that you have, in fact, two customers, the buyers and the merchants, and you have various revenue streams. We talked about the commission, which is quite similar to the retail, in fact. So we used to talk about margin, now we're talking about commission, but it's more or less the same. It's money out of the sale of products, but you also have other revenues, mainly services that you sell to your customer, to your buyers, the end customer, but also to your merchants with the subscription from the merchants and the monetization. And this is really what is different, is that the fact that you have different levers to pull and to trigger compared to a more classic retail business where basically you have your product margin, and then that's it in terms of revenue. It's just a markup. Here you have various revenues. And in terms of cost, it's also the same, the fact that you have more, you have various costs. You have less cost to bear because you don't have the cost of stocks and so on, as you mentioned. But in the same time, you have other costs to manage, and it's really the focus we try to do on the payroll, the cost to source and manage the sellers. That is really new. It was not at all a cost in retail. You had the buyers in terms of retails and the category managers and so on that are, you can think that they are doing in fact the same job that the account manager of sellers, but in fact it's not at all the same. It's not the same job, and it's really something that is complementary, but really it's not at all the same job, not the same skills, and it's really an evolution between the two. It's not that one is better than the other one, but it's really two jobs that are different, and that needs to be really in mind.
Another interesting question, how to define the marketing budget?
Well, try to answer and you just complete. Well, a marketing budget, then usually to make things as easy as possible when we define the business plan, we have some benchmarks per industries, per categories of products, and usually of the ratio of the marketing investments compared to the GMV. As we just said, usually in a mature marketplace, it's around 3%. When you begin, you can start with a 20% investment. So this is only related to the marketing budget. And then we have some, advices regarding the different marketing channels that you can, invest in, the impact of these marketing investments regarding the traffic evolution, traffic evolution in your marketplace products and everything. So yeah, basically it is we want you to define a budget based on the GMV, on the estimated GMV. So from 20% to 3%. And then we can advise you to the different marketing channels that you are looking for. Yeah, basically.
Basically, it really depends on your market in terms of product categories and geographies. And I would say that's not that different from the retail. So if you're already a retailer and have a marketing budget as a retailer, if you're starting from scratch, it's something else. But if you're a retailer, it's not that different. You use the same channel, it costs more or less the same thing. So it's quite similar to what you have in retail. The only exception is that the marketing budget may be a bit lower in marketplace compared to retail because of the assortment that you have and all the SEOs, the natural SEOs that you can expect from your assortment that really help you to reduce the marketing budget.
Thank you for your answers. We had a few more questions in the chat and we will answer them in private. I'll let Guillaume and Nicolas conclude this webinar.
Well, thank you very much for your attention. I hope that this webinar was interesting. Indeed, there were a lot of numbers. Business plans aren't usually, as we just said, the funniest subjects. So we hope that everything was pretty clear for you and that you have a better idea of the different steps that you have to do to create your business plan. Basically, this is what we do in the business consulting team at Octopia. We have a business consultants doing it pretty much as you just said every day. And we will be very happy to help you define your marketplace project on the one hand and also your marketplace business plan on the other.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better. I hope we help you to solve some of the questions that you're facing today when doing your business plan, and do not hesitate to contact us if you have some business plan to make. We're happy to help you on that.
Yeah.